Hello, all, and welcome again to the AI Cloud and Modern Workplace Conference 2025. We almost have we started at 5 o'clock here in Greece, and now we are at the last presentation for today. But we have a very special guest for this last presentation. I would like to say a few things before I present you who is our very special guest. I remember that I met him the last year in our last conference, and he advised us to use, as you can see in the presentation, the Microsoft Learn portal, which is, I think, the basic tool for all of us, which is our daily consultant to every work that we need to do. And we asked him kindly, and he kindly accepted once again, because he supports us all the time, to present once again, because we have changes, and he empower us, he inspire us to use it in an efficient way. I would like to present you our very special guest, Pietro De Bruin, Microsoft Learn Program Manager at Microsoft. Peter loves to build products and solutions that help business to achieve more. Originally an economist, Peter has 25 years of experience in the IT industry in various roles, including architect, program manager, and people manager. He's a distinguished IASA certified IT architect and was a Microsoft Most Valuable Professional. So that means that we can do like Peter in the future. We will copy what he is doing. Is passionate about simplifying lifelong learning, knowledge sharing, making other look cool, and diversity and inclusion. Outside of work, he's a good weather cyclist, bad weather guitarist, as he said in his social account. I was trying to find any information, and all-weather cook. Peter is a great professional, and his presentation about Microsoft Learn have helped us understand how to use this amazing portal effectively in our daily life. We are incredibly fortunate to have him and share his expertise with us. Peter, a big thank that you honored us with your presence once again in our conference.
For joining us, Peter.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is the best intro you do. Can you see everything as you want? The screen and the video?
Yes.
Yes. I was trying to find any information about you to make up, because you honored us every time that we have a conference.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's fun. It's always good to help each other, right? And so I normally don't do many presentations, because most of the sessions that or the events that happen want to talk about the hardcore technology, right? Like, how do I build, I don't know, a RAG chat application? And that's not my life, right? So I want to present about stuff that I do daily that I think is most comfortable for me, but also most interesting for others to listen to. I'm just not just making stuff up, right? This is what happens actually day to day. And you don't always hear about it. And so like, I don't have to do too secret about it. Like, there's not going to be any news here. When you have seen Ignite events, blog posts, you may know some of this. Actually, some of the basics is also what I shared last year here. But it should be some, like, an insight into, like, some details on Learn that I find interesting. Some ways that we're applying AI to Learn, right? Because, as you know, Microsoft is all in on artificial intelligence, but then it's not a buzzword in that sense, right? We're trying to make it real and see if we can use it effectively. And then what's in it for you, right? How can you use Learn and AI to become a better person, a better consultant, a better engineer, etc. Okay, so let's get started. Let's see if I can drive this slide thing. There we go. Yeah, so takeaways. If you hang up halfway during the session, no problem. This is something you can expect. On the right-hand side, you see the AI Learning Hub. And obviously, since I work at Microsoft and within Learn, this is something that I have to show, but also what I want to show. Right? Technology evolves all the time. Even, not sure if you heard the news yesterday that we have a quantum chip now, right? Where I don't understand half of it, but it's really interesting and exciting stuff. And so we now have stable qubits that we can do calculations may, and it's not decades out, but years out. So that's a big step. When you want to find the authority for what happens in the technology world, you can go to Learn. Right? Microsoft Learn is the authority when it comes to products. That's also how it started. But even new things like AI, it's there, right? We have a special location, learn.microsoft.com/AI. That's where you can find all the things that you can do with AI in the Microsoft context. And then a personal note is to read about that stuff, but also try it out, right? Because you can read, but then you only consume and you absorb so much. When you try something hands-on, that really works. And then run experiments in your projects, in your companies, to try to apply whatever is happening, right? As an example, I mentioned the RAG chat sample solution, which is built by colleagues in advocacy. I think it's a great solution. It is a simple way to show, here's a couple of PDFs, and now you can chat with a co-pilot and make it answer questions that you ask about the content that's in those PDFs. I thought interesting, but I will also want to see this about my blog, right? So I did apply the same, right? I used that GitHub workspace and then applied my own blog articles to it, had it indexed, and then all of a sudden I'm having a conversation about stuff that I blogged on before. And so then it really comes to life. And I think that's most powerful, not only for yourself to see, right, to get excited, but also to then be able to sell and to evangelize your concept within the company. And then lastly, share your feedback and expertise. And that's both like broadly within the community, because you want to build your image so people know you, they recognize you, they know that if you want to talk, have something, some information about the Microsoft Learn, you know who to ask, right? And that's the whole point. But also feedback to us, because as you know, we are building stuff. We're like Learn is a product that has bugs. We have content which may not be perfect, and so we want to optimize that too. And you, as the close community, are the friends of the show, as I say. And you're using stuff in the real world, right? So when you're within your own company or at customers, and you try something that you've read on Learn, but it doesn't work, please let us know. So these are the takeaways. We'll talk about these things for longer. Okay, a step back in time. This is about like 20 years, 25 years ago. Microsoft Developer Network was a CD. Do you see that? The CD-ROM, it says disk 40. So there's probably 39 before and probably some others after. And that's what Microsoft was at that time, right? We had boxed products of Windows and SQL and BizTalk and all those things. Very interesting, but it was packaged. It was locked in. You had to buy a subscription to actually get this thing. So it was not really open. And when you talk about changes in technology, we call it digital transformation. But this is, to me, this is digital transformation coming to life, right? So it's not only the product, but it's actually the entire company we don't want to ship CDs, right? We're not in the business of shipping CDs. We're in the business of sharing information so that you can use our services. So content is online, services are online, and that's how we operate nowadays. This has been a huge transformation, and it's ongoing, right? And so in that sense, we're at a certain phase of digital maturity, and we're continuing. Okay, Microsoft Learn, you probably know Learn from documentation. If you are using Microsoft 365 or Dynamics 365 or Azure or anything, of the cloud services, you probably ran into documentation to understand what a service is about. What is this AI Foundry? How do I get started? Those things. Then documentation is pretty dry, some will say, right? Because it's mostly text, not too many images, not too much interaction. And that's where trainings come in. So using trainings, we found a way to have more of a step-by-step approach to go through a certain learning. When you end with the training, you think you've trained enough, you can get a credential, right? Like we call the certification. But there's more nowadays, also with applied skills, where you can not only sit an exam, that's a theoretical multiple choice exercise, but more of you get a virtual environment, you get 2 hours time to satisfy certain requirements, a certain solution. Then maybe you didn't find your answer in documentation, maybe you didn't find the answer in training, now you want to ask a question. And that's where Q&A comes in. So questions and answers are a way to interact with the community, with you as peers. Just ask a question, something that doesn't work or is broken, you can't get it to fix. And I know there's other Q&A solutions out there, right? There's plenty of fora. But this is the one that we have and the one that we support and the one that we can monitor and the one that we can also track for feedback. There's additional things with code samples, assessments, and shows, but the things we'll talk about today is documentation, training, and Q&A. So that's learn from the outside. Learn from the inside is much more than that. Microsoft Learn is really a big organization. In that sense, it's just like Azure or M365. Maybe not that big, but you can see it as a product, right? A product where people run services and there's site reliability going on, there's DevOps going on, there's builds going on all the time throughout the day. So we're building a platform, and then there's content on top of that, right? There's millions of articles written in Markdown, stored in GitHub, and they are transformed into static content so that they can be served to users. Also, millions of users I should say that correctly, every month, who visit and who return to visit, because you don't visit Learn as a one-off. When you know about Learn, you probably are there most of the week, I'd say. And then there's various types of content, right? Like documentation articles, training modules, shows, videos, etc. Not to forget the people. There's a whole bunch of people. And when I say a big organization, there's quite a few people, hundreds of developers, content developers who write that stuff, engineers who program the websites and the stuff that you see, and program managers who run the products and the projects to get things done and to change things. We'll run into a few of those. Okay, a bit deeper into Learn. So Learn documentation may seem like this is just a flat wall of text, and I'm not impressed. But when you start dissecting this thing, you see a table of content on the left-hand side. There's logic behind there. You see, in the middle, you see a major column of text with some headers and some links and maybe an image or a code snippet. On the right-hand side, you see cross-references to additional content that's related to this. Some navigation. You can go to the portal, you can start a free account, and you also see you as a signed-in user. And so you have a Learn profile, which is gathering data. Currently, the Learn profile is not that rich because it knows about your training, but it doesn't know about your environment, right? About the Azure subscriptions that you run or the M365 features that you have access to. But that's something that is very realistic to speculate about, right? Okay, and then this is just one type of article. It's pretty standard. It's like we call this conceptual, but then there's other types of articles like a quick start and how to and There's auto-generated reference articles for APIs, right? So that they describe what an API is, so what you can do with it, and the parameters you can provide. There's topic pages like the one you saw on AI, and then there's specific cross sections of all of this to find, like, if you're a JavaScript developer and you want to play with Gen AI, then maybe your experience is different. So you also have a different entrance. And then there's multi-language, like the human languages. Maybe a person in Greece is fluent in English and they can read this, but maybe they're not. And so they want to go to the Greek version of it, or the Dutch version, or the whatever your language is. So all of that is also happening in the background, part of the product. If you ever clicked right on the website and then view source, you get what you see here, which is interesting in some sense, but also a bit overwhelming maybe. It shows a lot of metadata. And so the metadata is mostly for internal reporting purposes. And so we know, like, when was this page last updated and what service does it belong to and what team. The challenge with that is that, or no, the good news is that it provides additional information beyond the markdown that is the rest of the page. But it's not really helpful for AI, for instance, right? If you feed this into AI, it doesn't make sense. So they just skip it. Also, all the markdown is the same. It's just a blob of text. And so the AI really has to try to analyze it. And so it would be great if there was a way to structure the markdown content in such a way that you can point it to, hey, this may be interesting search hints. And so when you see this is probably a good article to reference. One thing I do want to note here is that you see the MS Author metadata tag here. And so whenever you have feedback about an article and you can't find anyone who's willing to take that on, the thing you can do is take this alias, do @microsoft.com, and then send that person an email, right? Because feedback is a gift. And I think if you, sometimes Microsoft can be overwhelming because there's lots of people and it's hard to navigate sometimes. But this is a straightforward way to find the author of the article. Okay, then training. So training has modules as the core concept of what you can do in an interactive step-by-step way. It contains knowledge checks, so it does a small test where you can check if you know what you should know. It has sandboxes, so there's some ways to experiment with a trial Azure environment. I always say that's great if you don't have access to an Azure environment. If you do, you probably want to use your own, because then you can keep it for longer, right? You can experiment, you can create a storage account, put some blobs in it, play with it, and then keep it for later. You don't have to keep stuff running, right? You can just turn off a computer, a VM, or most of the services you can either like scale down to very little or completely turn off. And then it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. And if it does, then you can always automate stuff. But it's good to keep your own environment and be able to spin it up and down so that you become handy with it. Okay, just one module is just a chapter in a book, you could say, and then learning paths are like the complete book, which make up multiple modules, and you get towards, for instance, a certification that we talk about. There's also collections, which make you gather modules and learning parts, but also an article or even all kinds of sources as one list. Challenges you probably saw around Ignite, and you will see again around Build, where it's a bit of a race to complete a certain thing, and then you get maybe a voucher or a discount to do a certification. But that's more of the gamification. You can also do challenges within your own organization. If you are interested in that and you haven't, feel free to reach out. And then plans is the last one, and we'll talk about it more in in the AI section of this talk. But the plans I want to talk about here is that the training is very technical and oriented towards achieving a certification, for instance. Whereas plans, we try to focus on getting a job done. So maybe you're an AI engineer and you don't want to certify, but you want to gain enough knowledge to become an AI engineer or to become a senior AI engineer. And so that's where plans come in. It's a different cross-section to offer you access to all the goodness within the training catalog. And then given that big data catalog, it's also interesting to provide additional entry points for various audiences. So a student may become overwhelmed when they see all the things. And so if we provide a simpler interface that guides you in a specific way with your language and profiles that you want to go after, then maybe that's a better way. The same for Educator Center, right? You can leverage Microsoft training modules and learning paths as an educator to teach to others. And so there's a separate section for that. And then lastly, for philanthropies. So AI for good, but also anything else for good. We do lots of beneficiary solutions where people in NGOs, for instance, get discounts or very cheap access to our services. And then we have also skills to train you on that behalf. And the numbers that you see here, 23 million, is what we trained last fiscal year. So maybe you know Microsoft has broken fiscal years that start in July and in June. And so last year we trained 23 million, and this year aiming to finish in June, we're aiming to train 100 million people in AI skills. So you can go to the AI Skills Navigator, and then that's a joint collaboration with Microsoft Learn and LinkedIn and GitHub. And you can skill, and not just you, not just us from the Microsoft community, but also outside. So if you know other people, like maybe your partner or friends who want to know about AI, maybe Microsoft Learn is too technical, but there's various entries to that. Okay, here's Q&A. If you've seen Q&A, the navigation is a bit different. We talk about tags, and you have tags for certain products, right? So for instance, within Azure, there's tags for Azure AI services. There's also individual services that have their own tag, like Azure OpenAI and Azure AI Search. Here I've just shown like a screenshot of AI services. There's 3,000 questions. Many of them have an answer. And it's not just an automated answer, right? This is a real person. Shout out to Sina Salam, who I don't know, but looks like a very mature answer that's given here to a question that's only been asked just a couple of hours before. And so I think that's a great way to interact with the community. And we'll come back to this too, because this is also where you can show your expertise and share with the rest of the community. And then where you see patterns again, when you see people repetitively ask the same question, then maybe it's time for feedback, and we'd love to hear about that. Maybe a thing that you know or don't know, even Microsoft has various forum technologies. For instance, the tech community is something that comes up often in discussions, where you can also do posts and ask questions. But for now, we're focusing on Learn answers on the right-hand side. That's Q&A. But on the left-hand side is answers for consumer products, you could say, more on the end-user side, right? For Windows Client, M365, Xbox, Outlook. And so that's being migrated to Learn Q&A, because we've realized that running multiple platforms is really expensive. Building additional tools on top of them for instance, AI is even more expensive. And then we also want to have like an integrated story when it comes to the people who answer those, right? So on the support side, there's people who work at Microsoft who answer those. But also for MVPs in the community, it's good to have a common interface. And so Q&A is the new place, and so it's growing. Okay, then learn an AI. Before we start talking about AI, I think we should really talk about some of the quality attributes, so non-functional requirements. Security is top in our company, top of mind, and it should be in anyone's. Maybe you've read about state hackers that have access or have had access to certain areas. That's just something you don't even want to get close to, because then your whole business becomes sensitive to like all kinds of bad news, right? And so security should always be your top priority. Next is reliability, and I think that's mostly towards Microsoft, but we should talk about this because just like we're spending fortunes on security, reliability is also important. Like 5 nines used to be great, but if Azure if Entra ID has 5 nines of uptime, then there's also downtime, right? And for services like Entra ID, you can't accept downtime. So reliability becomes a real challenge and a goal in itself. But also you should be aware when you're building solutions, you should talk about availability and reliability and hey, Mr. Customer, how long, when is downtime acceptable? Because the more companies change towards this digital transformation, the more they realize that businesses don't stop on Friday afternoon at 5, right? Business goes on, even at night, even in weekends. And so maybe there is no window for downtime. And so you really have to talk about it. And then specifically for AI, there's 2 additional ones. Responsible AI first, because we've seen that when you train your models on data that is from a certain location, then it may also be biased towards data from that certain location. And so make sure that when it comes to diversity and inclusion, that every person is represented in your training set, and so that everybody is also treated in the same way. And then for sustainability, sometimes you'll see people talk about how much hardware we're investing and how many data centers we're investing and how many green power we're buying. And honestly, to me, that's a bit of a double feeling. On the one hand, I think it's great that there's this development going on. We're learning a bunch of new things. But then also you should know about the consequences, right? And so, for instance, if I generate a picture, I go to a certain AI and ask for generate me a picture. I would like to know how much does this cost, right? In terms of carbon, water, energy, what have you. Because things change, right? If I want to see a picture of a dog, that's great. But then if I generate a new picture of a dog and apparently that costs 5 liters of water, maybe I'm not too enthusiastic to use that service. It's also the other way around. Not everything that has a bit of logic should become an AI nowadays, right? Search still has a place. So maybe if there's something that you can answer with a simple SQL query or even full text index, then maybe that is the way to go. You don't need a large language model and a vector database and a copilot to answer you a certain thing that you could just fix with a database statement. Okay. So for AI, I think you may have seen the middle screen. The middle screen is the Azure portal. It shows the Copilot on the right-hand side. and I'm asking it a certain question about Copilot that Copilot can answer. To me, that's the most exciting development that I've seen for Learn in the past year, I think. This is publicly available, but I don't think we talk about it enough. Mostly because this is exactly what AI should be for me, right? I think AI should be helping you achieve more to keep you in the flow of doing your things, and you can just ask it to something on the side. I remember back in the day when I was building customer solutions, on the left-hand side, in my screen, I would have the Learn documentation. In the right-hand screen, I would have a terminal or the Azure portal. And then I would maybe copy paste or walk through something. And now you can just have that in one screen, in one place. And so not only the website, but also on the right-hand side, you see the terminal where you can have AI Shell activated. And then on the left-hand side, you see Founders Hub, which is a specific portal for people who are building startups. And you can do that too, right? It just requires a LinkedIn page and a good idea. But there you have an AI assistant, which leverages the same thing. And so it's good to know that when you think about Learn documentation, maybe as a bit boring, the wall of text that we spoke about earlier, that is actually the source of what AI assistants and copilots answer here. And so when you realize that that's the evolution, then all of a sudden Learn documentation becomes much more interesting and exciting, at least for me, to work on. At the bottom, you see a URL where this is a blog post of about a year ago where we've shared more details how we've done this. There's lots of more technical details to be shared. That's probably not the most interesting one. I think this is more about ideation, right? You can have a separate doc site and you can have a web product. And now all of a sudden you can combine those and help customers, users achieve more, really. Okay, so here's another application of AI. First, on the left-hand side, you see also a similar experience like the Azure Copilot. This is called Ask Learn. Not sure if you've seen this. This is in preview since Ignite. I think it is US only, but I may be mistaken. But anyway, this is coming to all of it soon. So this is not new, but you may not have used it yourself because it's in preview in a certain geography. But anyway, you can see that there's a Copilot on the right-hand side of your screen, and you can ask it about, for instance, this training module. So when you don't understand the training module or there's too much text, you want to have a summary, you want to have it explained in a different way, you can ask that on the right-hand side. And then the other screenshot you see on this page is that there's a custom plan, a custom learning plan. And so I spoke about learning plans for certain roles, like an AI engineer. But maybe you are not an AI engineer. Maybe you have a combination of requirements. And so there's a way now when you go to learn.microsoft.com/plans to build your own learning plan. And as you can see in the steps it went through, you started with a background, then you gave a couple of objectives that you want to achieve in a timeline. How much time do you spend and what's the duration of this complete effort? And it gives you a review, it gives you a plan. And you see that it's compiled, given my background and my objectives and my time to invest. It gave me a custom learning plan, which consists of a couple of learning paths and some modules. And so in the end, it's not rocket science, you could say, but it is an interesting way to get a custom mix of a cocktail of learning sources. By the way, I've used lots of screenshots in this demo, in this deck, because ideally you want to demonstrate Learn, right? Learn is a website, everybody can access it, and so so should I. The challenge there is that you need a person to actually perform the demo, and so it's more efficient to do it with screenshots. And also this translates better for people who watch it later or use the deck separately. But I've included the URL in most of the screenshots so you can find it on your own. Okay, so then AI with Q&A. We've spoken about Learn Q&A, that you can ask a question and then get an answer from a community peer. But there's additional things that are happening in Q&A. So first is ask the question. And this is not new. I think I already presented this last year. So the Azure Copilot and the Ask Learn Assistant in Q&A are one of the first AI applications that we have. But I still think it's awesome because this means that you don't start your own question from scratch, right? You type your question, but then it already starts to search and to propose a couple of questions that may answer yours. So even before you started it, right? You start typing, what's your question, and then similar questions come back. I think that's awesome because it's great if you can ask a question, but then also there's a dependency, right? The dependency on a person to look at it, to answer it correctly. And yeah, it would be great if you could reuse an existing question. Sometimes, obviously, you could search yourself first, but people don't do that always. The good thing with LLMs is that your search can be a bit more advanced, right? So maybe your title is not exactly how you describe it, or what the real challenge is. And so then this AI assist really helps. And then on the right-hand side, you see it in a different way. Suppose you are creating. Now the Ask Learn Assistant is going to present you content from Learn documentation and training modules and other answers that really respond to your question. So not looking at a separate or previously asked Q&A question, but actually just using the whole mix of knowledge within Learn to see if there's a way to answer your question before you're asking it. So what's in all this for you? First of all, I've started talking about feedback, and I think that's still valid. And then there's various ways to talk about contributing to Learn, providing feedback. We actually have a separate page on that. So you can go to learn.microsoft.com/contribute. And there you can read about this, about editing documentation, responding to Q&A, creating collections of trainings and sharing those, etc. But the challenge here is that if I ask you to contribute and you don't do this or haven't done this, there may be a couple of things blocking. And so my hero is Scott Hansman. And what he's done is written blog posts, and these are years ago, right? You see the dates from 2010 and 2011, because in essence, this is not technical. This doesn't change over time. The fact that you may not have the right priority to spend time on sharing your expertise, that is something that happens. The other thing that happens is that you may not think enough of yourself, right? And assume that there's other people out there who are better to answer this. And so these are two things that I'd like to point you to. First, do they deserve the gift of your keystrokes? When you answer a question from a colleague or from a customer, and you send an email back, maybe one person sees that, or two or three. But if you do that publicly, right, then you help a whole bunch of people. And so this is beyond Learn even, right? If you have your own blog where you publish your own learnings, that's fantastic. I can really get enthusiastic about that. And so you don't have to answer an email because you can just say, well, look, I wrote this blog post for you so that you can read it, but anyone else can too. And so that's a bit of the same point that I want to make with Learn. That's why I joined Learn in the first place, right? I was helping customers day in, day out, but then there was repetition in there. And I thought this is what all financial customers should do, or what all healthcare customers should do. And then the imposter syndrome, there's also a great article about it, like I'm a phony, or you. And And if you know Scott Hanselman, he's like pretty experienced in the IT space. So even if he has these thoughts, then you probably do, right? And so do I. But then, like, when you do things and you do things for a couple of times, you become the expert of this. And even in AI, things may seem very intimidating, but all the things that are happening with AI didn't exist 3 years ago. So all of that is new, and everybody is relatively new in this space. Well, except for a couple of AI PhD students who studied this stuff in depth. But yeah, for the rest, we're all 3 years in, and we're learning as we go. And why wouldn't you be one of the experts? Okay, then specifically to documentation contributions, I already shared the tip that you can do right-click, view source, and then look up the MS author and send those people a mail. What else can you do? On every documentation article, there's a feedback button, right? So you can press thumb up, thumb down. Was this helpful? Yes or no? And then there's, yeah, default answers. If you're not watching the content in English, you can provide feedback on the translation quality and tell more, right? And please use that. Don't put personal identifiable information, but share all the details that you want. People actually read this, so yeah, don't think it's going into a black hole. Now, when it comes to trainings, those same options apply. And additionally, what you can do with trainings is create your own collection, create your own plan, and then share those, right? So you can build your collection, and so your subset of Learn content that you want to publish and say, well, these are the ones that I handpicked. I think this is a good story, and now I want to take this to my customers, to my students, to my wherever. And then Q&A contributions. I think this is very obvious, right? A person asks a question, you read the question, it's about Azure Functions or an AI service, and you know it. So let's answer. And this is where you already see on the right-hand side, there's people being elevated because we have a page on Learn that shows the top contributors for a certain page, a certain period in time. And this is something personal. I use the happiness calendar, and on today, February 20, it says make a plan to connect with others and do something fun. Well, look at this, here I am. But I think that's also good with Q&A, right? It's the human connection. You're actually helping a person. And it's just, yeah, very heartwarming when a person marks your response as the formal answer, right? I think that's, yeah, very encouraging. Okay, and then lastly, ideally, when you answer a question in Q&A, you want to link to Learn official content, right, as the source to, yeah, justify the things that you're saying. Sometimes that doesn't exist, and that's where we do this experiment with Microsoft Learn community content. You, as an expert, can write an article that describes the thing that you're doing. Obviously, we don't want to duplicate content that exactly already exists on Learn, but if it doesn't, then there's a room to, yeah, provide your own article and then use that as an answer in Q&A. As I said, this is an experiment. Actually, George is one of the organizers of this event, but he's also involved in that effort. And so if you have these thoughts, reach out to him to learn more.
Thank you. Thank you, Peter.
Almost there. Are we out of time?
No, the time is yours. Please continue.
Good. Okay, and then this is also something new, something as I said, an experiment. We didn't have the successful video platform, right, as others in the world do, and so I think YouTube is great for finding new things, right? If you want to learn to play guitar or piano, you go to YouTube. I'm not a TikTok user, but people also go there. And so the same is true for learning technology, especially a certain age of people who do that. And I think it's great that we're running this experiment to see, hey, these young people that you see on the left-hand side of the screen, they can create their own Learn With page where they combine their ideal sources. Sometimes it's stuff that they create themselves. Sometimes it's from Learn. Sometimes it's something else external from probably YouTube or something else engaging. And that's just a different way to look at content, and where Learn really wants to be, yeah, the middle of community connecting folks. I think we're almost there. This is takeaways. You've seen these, but just to repeat, now knowing what you've heard in the past a little less than an hour, technology evolves all the time. But I haven't spoken specifically much on features about this is what you can do with AI Foundry, and this is what you can do with AI Search, right? Things change, things will change, but you can go always to Learn to find the latest. Specifically about AI, go there. Don't be intimidated. Just try stuff out, read about it, try it, and in experiments show how you apply it to your own blog, as I mentioned, or to something that is relevant to your company. And then share feedback, both with us when Learn is not good enough, when products like AI Foundry are not good enough, but also share your expertise and say, well, look, I've read this, I tried it a bit, I ran this experiment with RagJet on my blog, and it works, and it's fantastic. And now I can ask questions about subscriptions and accounts and stuff like that, and Entra ID tenants. And this is an experience that I haven't had before, right? Because that is also, a sign of digitally transforming a static blog into a conversation engine. That's it. The QR code points to my personal website where you can find me, reach out on LinkedIn, the blog, GitHub, stuff like that. That's all I wanted to share. Back to the organizers.
Pieter, I don't know how you did it, but we have multiple questions.
Oh, you do?
Yes, we
Cool.
have multiple questions from audience. They ask, let me start with in a row that they sent. Can we contribute in Microsoft Learn and how we can do it?
Yeah, so I provided a couple of pointers where you can provide feedback to documentation. Sometimes sometimes documentation repositories are public, not always. But I think when it comes to documentation, you should definitely try to edit in GitHub or provide feedback through the thumbs up and down. And then the last resort is Alias, or actually the last resort is send me an email. Use those, have that conversation about things that should be better, definitely. Trainings to Q&A, all of it. And so I think start by having a conversation, reach out to me, and I'll see if I can find the correct person. Not sure how many questions I'm getting now. But there should be ways, definitely. And as I said, also learn.microsoft.com/contribute. That's where you can find all of this content online that should guide you.
We have another one question which says that if I level up my account, do I get any benefits?
I'm not sure if I understand that question.
What
do you mean?
I think that if I guess well, that if he get a point and make the account change the level,
If get more points on
the Learn
the
profile.
account,
I guess I'm not sure, but I guess
probably.
I don't think. I think that's more of a gamification, as in you can collect points and you can have more than me and the other way around. I think it's more like a race, but it's not. I don't think we do swag for Learn achievements. We do have badges, right? So there's some level of gamification, but that's not the goal per se, I'd say.
And one last. Can I get a certification if I take some learning path without taking an exam?
So a bit, because if you, so we have applied skills challenges. I think I described those where you don't sit a formal exam, but you get an environment and you have to achieve a certain outcome in that environment. So that's not like a formal exam, right? Like a traditional exam. It's just you doing your job, right? Assuming that you are an engineer who is then doing a job that they do regularly. I think that's getting the certification without doing the exam. But otherwise, yeah, the traditional thing is still there, right? So if you want to be like AZ, I don't know, 300 something, be a certified solution architect, you have to sit an exam. But there's various ways to do it. You can do an online exam, right? Just from your home, you have to clean your desk and one screen and one device and no smartwatch or phones. But that works. And we also have traditional test centers for people who don't have that comfort at home or at their work. So that still exists too.
And I have a personal note that I need to tell you.
Okay.
We love all of you that you gave us back the button download as PDF, which is very important for all of us. We want to work offline. When I saw again this button, it was an amazing.
It was
I
great.
remember. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. So some of these things are hard to imagine, right? 25 years ago, we didn't have broadband, but now we do, right? And so if you're online all the time, every day, like I am from working from home, then I don't even think about downloading the PDF, right? But I can imagine there's certain places where you don't have all this access and you want to sit in a certain environment where you don't, and then you can just bring a PDF. Yeah, so that's why I got back.
So, Pieter, thank you. Thank you so much.
Can I say something before you closing
this session? Of course.
Konstantinos, thank you, mate. So, Peter, you said before starting your presentation, you said that presenting content about Microsoft Learn is not attractive because it's not technical. I personally, I don't agree. It should happen the opposite. Your presentation was outstanding, provided helpful information that is hard to find elsewhere. And actually, thank you for sharing it with us and with all the people that join us in this session. Although we all use Microsoft Learn and Q&A daily, we didn't know many of the details that you examined in your session, and your insights actually have helped us, all of us, to understand this tool much better, because it's a tool, right?
Awesome. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
And I also want to say that you break the world record in our conference in questions, because we have another question that ask where we will upload this video. Okay, let me inform the audience that we will contact directly after the summit, after the conference, all the speakers, and we will discuss where we will upload or how we will do it. Sarah, this amazing presentation. Pieter, a big thank that you join us, that you help us, that you support us, that you empower us, that you inspire us. All these amazing actions that you do for us. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you in person next year. We are discussing with George how we can do it in person, and of course, if you have the ability to visit Greece and to meet you
are
in
more
person.
than welcome. Yeah.
Yes.
So maybe, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So we have to close for today. I would like to thank all the speakers that they honored us with their presence. We know that they are all super active. Most of them are Microsoft employees, and we all understand and we all know how difficult it is to join all these events, but they did it for us, and that's why we are feeling very happy, and we are want to say a big thank, a warm thank for everything. We will continue tomorrow with very interesting presentation. George will present, Michalis will present about security. We have multiple presenters. Peter about security. Tomorrow is a security day. And then we have to continue this marathon in the Saturday, which is the last day. Thank you all. Have a nice night.
Thank you,
Because
Peter,
here in
again.
Greece,
Thank you.
it is almost 10. And Peter, thank you once again. Good night.
Good night. Good night, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.